components of doing programming. First one is writing the program, right? Then second stage is compiling the program. Third stage is debugging the program, and then last is running the program, right? Now running has two stages, like one is run with debug, run without debug. Now with this you have to also understand there are certain things that comes with development, like when we talk about environment, right? So then you have to configure a lot of things if you have done programming in PHP or somewhere else where you don't have a complete set of tools, right? Of late they started using Eclipse and there are a few more tools, but initially there was nothing. So you write your code on Notepad, till you finish your code you don't know, right? Whether your code has some error, you don't have an error, right? Then you go, you compile the code with your compiler, then you'll get a compile time error, right? And then when you try to run, if you get error in the runtime, so there are two different kinds of errors. One is compile time error and the other one is runtime error. When we get compile time error, this should be answered by most of you.
Syntax error.
So when there is a syntax based error, so basically you mess up with the rule. Yeah, yesterday we were talking, right? Every program is based on certain rules. So basically when we talk about any language, language is developed based on rules. You will have grammar, right? So here also in our computer programming language we have set of rules that we need to follow. If you fail to follow the rules, it might be a spelling mistake, syntax. That is, here you mess with the keyword, you write it in a wrong way, or else you don't follow any other rule, right? So including all those things, syntax error comes. So if you don't match the exact syntax, then and this is a very basic type of error, right? Because compiler itself, at the time of compiling, when it finds something which doesn't fit the rule of the programming, it will flag an error. Second set of program error is little difficult, little complex. It can be very simple, also it can be very, very, very complex, because you have not done anything wrong as per rule. But suppose if you have task is to perform addition of two numbers, right? And there, suppose if you write a syntax like C equals A, ADD, B, but whereas ADD is not recognized as any
predefined keyword.
Yes. So what will happen is, when it goes to compiler, it recognizes A, B and C and equals, but it doesn't recognize ADD. So it will flag an error that you have a syntax error. But suppose if you have written plus and minus is all recognized, keywords. So plus means adding to numbers or characters. Again, adding to numbers are different, adding to character is different. We'll talk about this thing in the next chapter. But currently, this is very basic, you can also understand, right? So when we are adding two numbers, you will get a result, and that is stored in C. We have three variables, A, B and C, where A has some value, B has some value, and when you add both the things, it will be stored in C, and then you are displaying C as an output. This is your task. Suppose now what you did is, you have written C equals A minus B. When you check with the syntax, right, we don't have anything wrong with the syntax. As per rule, you are 100% correct. But is your output correct? No. Because our requirement was to get addition of two numbers. So those kind of errors cannot be caught by compiler, right? It will be only debugged, or when you go stage by stage. So there is another term added called debugger. See, unless we understand the components of IDE, we will not be able to appreciate what IDE brings onto table. So you understood one is editor. So you should be able to write the program or edit the program, inside one software. Now, second thing what we are adding in this is debugger and compiler. So compiler basically it just checks with the basic syntax rules what is present for the programming language. So compiler definitely exists for a program. If you have a programming language, you should also have compiler with it, right? So you will have a compiler, but to bring it to in the same tool so that you don't have to compile the code separately. If somebody has worked with the C, they will get to know, right? You had a separate, you have a set of editor and compiler, and sometimes you also used to compile it separately. In PHP we used to do that, right? So you compile the code and then you run it in with a third environment. Now what your IDE does is it brings everything together. So I was talking about debugger. Debugger works in different modes. One is line by line, and what it is called? So basically, we have shortcut keys if we talk about Visual Studio. That is our IDE for .NET and any language. For time we will stick to C# because we are learning C# as a programming language with Visual Studio and .NET framework. So Visual Studio is a IDE, Integrated Development Environment. Now you can create your projects in that, and then you should write the code, and we'll have a demonstration for everything now in some time, like starting from downloading the tool to installing it, and then starting your first project. So debugging has 2 to 3 different modes how we do it. One is line by line debugging. And we have shortcut keys available for each one of it. But as a programmer, you always don't need this feature. Reason being, you already know that part of the code was working fine before. The problem is only in the new piece of code what you have added, right? Then a new concept comes in picture, that is called breakpoint. Right? So what a breakpoint does is, it adds a break to a normal execution process of a program. So for example, you have written a if condition in middle of the program, and you want to start debugging because you are 100% sure that nothing is wrong before that. So you add a breakpoint. What a breakpoint does is, it halts the execution of the program at that point. So your program counter will be, waiting on your manual intervention at that point of time. Okay. So once you go to line number 50, for example, where you have inserted breakpoint, your program will execute as normal till then, and it will wait for your manual, intervention. From there you can go line by line, or there's something called step over and there's something called step into. We'll talk about that also. What is step over and what is step into? Okay, a few of the concept of this in details you will get to know when we are actually discussing the programming, right? Because now we'll talk about a little bit about functions, because when we are talking about step over and step into, as of now, everybody knows what function is, right? It is a set of code to perform a certain task, right? As of now, that is enough. When we get into actual method or function, we'll dive deep in, I will dive deep into this, and we'll understand how function works. As of now, understand what function is. It is basically set of code which performs a certain task. Now suppose when you are, going through line by line, you encountered a method or a function. Why I am calling method? Because function everybody is aware. But in C# we don't call function a function. We call it as method. Reason being, we provide a lot of other functionalities which a traditional function doesn't provide, and we want to distinguish that with a different name. Otherwise, it is function. In other programming languages, you call it a function. Here you call it method. That's it. So when you encounter a function or method, then you have two choices there. You go inside the method because method has its own set of code because it performs a unique functionality, right? That's what is the definition of method. It provides some functionality. So and we don't write the code again and again. Actually, you can imitate the functionality of a method or a function by writing the same code, but you are just eating up more memory by writing it again and again. If the functionality is used very often in your program, or it gives a different, distinct feature to the program, you try to write it separately so that you can distinguish this piece of code is doing something unique. It's not a general thing. Okay? And usually methods are written where it is being used more than once. So you take out this piece of code, write it separate in a method. Sometimes you would have already tested that method is working fine. Then do you want to go inside and check whether output of this method is correct or not? No. Right? Because you have already tested it before. As I told, right, the method or function is used multiple times in the program. So there might be a scenario that you have already tested this method is working fine. There might be problem somewhere else. So you don't want to go inside this function and perform the same task again because it will kill your time as a developer to debug. So you will do step over. By name itself, it suggests, and you have shortcut keys. Once we install, you will get to know. You have action buttons also on top in your IDE, and you have shortcut keys like F9 for breakpoint, F10 for step into, and F11 for step over. Like that. So, but suppose if you have not verified the function before, you have written the function this time, assuming this will be used in the future process. Then you would like to go inside the function and check whether the function has some defects or some bug. So you will go step into. Step into means you will enter into the method, right? So this is clear. Step over and step into.
Yes, so step over also.
See, step over is like you don't want to check the code which is present inside function. So what it will do, it will execute the code of the function as normal. So it will be very quick. Suppose if you press the F11, automatically it will come to the next statement. It will go inside the function, execute quickly. It will not wait for your. Basically what happens when in the line by line debugging, you have to manually press next, and you will see what is the output of the variable or the operation so that you can determine that whether your code is performing as per your expectation or not. But when you are already sure that your method is performing as per your expectation, you don't want to go inside that and check line by line. Suppose there is 20 lines of code in your method, and you already know your method is working fine. You don't want to go and debug extra 20 lines just because you cannot skip it. That's why there is an additional method of step over. So you can do that. Second, one more thing is you can have multiple breakpoints. It's not like you have only one breakpoint and you keep running that. So if suppose if you have 10 breakpoints and you want to check only 2 lines in this piece of code, and then if that is performing fine, the rest of the code you are sure that it will perform properly. So you have put a breakpoint after 50 lines, suppose. So you will go to 2 lines, check the output, and then you press F5. F5 means it is like, and this is very specific to .NET. Don't press F5, when you are developing on Python or JavaScript, right? It won't work. It might work depending upon what is the configuration of your IDE, but it is very specific to Visual Studio. Right? If you are using Visual Studio, these shortcut keys will work. But concept will work almost throughout. Whichever IDE you are using, the concept of step over, step into, and the basic definition of IDE will remain same. Features of IDE might vary from your IDE to IDE. Some IDE will provide more features, some will provide less features, some will provide a distinct feature which is not present in other IDE. So step over and step into is clear. Right? So your debugging is clear. How you debug? You can add multiple breakpoints, you can check line by line, you can get into a method and check, you can even get into a DLL and check. Again, DLL, concept of DLL will be clear to you in a very detailed way later. But as of now, if debug is enabled for that particular DLL, you can actually go into inside the DLL and check the code there also. Now, next is running the code. So you have a runtime environment as well integrated with your IDE. Right? So one is run with debug. So basically when you are debugging, what you are doing, you are running it also. Right? That's how you are getting the output. So one is run without debugging, which runs, it will not stop anywhere. It will start the code when you find the finish line, or it will wait when you have a manual input given to the system. Right? Otherwise, it will complete the execution of the code and give you the result. That's how the IDE works. So next thing would be, we have to check whether Okay, while it is installing, we can discuss on different topic. So we were discussing about Git. So GitHub is not only used for repository. There is another major functionality of GitHub. Because of it, it was introduced in the market. What is that?
To track the changes.
Yes. And what it is called?
Version control.
Yes.
Version control.
Version control. So Git is used for versioning. Versioning. Okay. So basically, suppose if you do any changes, both the changes will be available and you can revert back to the older one and newer one. At the same time, it also acts as repository because it is stored in a separate location. If your system crashes, also your code will remain safe. And this, or you can say the major use of Git is when you work with a team, right? When multiple people are working on a single functionality. In that case, what happens? How to manage everybody's changes and keep it at one place without much confusion. What happens if you are working on something, he is working on something, and he is working on something? Chances are you mess up something, he'll mess up something, he'll mess up something, and together we'll have a bigger problem. And especially when you don't exchange your code for a month, and you don't know what you have done 1 month back. And it is very natural. It's not like somebody is making some excuses. Right? It is very evident that person will not have any idea what changes the person has made. Okay? So version control will also help you in tracking your changes, who has done what, when he has pushed his code, when he has committed. Not only that, we also have different level of tracking. For example, you are into a continuous delivery and deliver model, like development and deliver model. It means that you have a active product which is changing very frequently, and that is the scenario with most of the products in today's world. It is not like 10-15 years back where you used to have a product and to get a patch it used to take 1 year. Right? You get a patch in next 10 days. Right? It would not have been possible, in their work environment to actually deliver the changes in another 10 days. Because it takes a lot of effort, a lot of validation. But with, introduction of TFS, Git, Subversion, there are so many versioning tools, version control tools, which actually provides you an option to give you a platform where you can continuously develop and continuously deliver, right? So what it is called? This process? Yes, I am asking you. Huh? What it is called? Continuous development and continuous delivery? CI/CD. Okay, what is the full form of CI/CD?
Continuous delivery and continuous integration.
So basically, and most of us, we are using this tool in some way or the other, right, Naveen?
Yes.
So we have other tools apart from Git to facilitate continuous delivery and continuous deployment or integration. And how we do it is like Git it not only provides you a version, it also provides you a separation between production, stage, okay, then test environment, and then delivery, like development. So when a developer develops a code, again there is different hierarchy there also, but it again depends on company to company how and how many layers they follow. The standard practice is there will be first layer of repository that will be a developer's layer. So when developer is developing something, the rest of the chain doesn't get affected. Because usually developers do something that takes time, right? Suppose you are doing something and it takes 15 days time. Till then, what tester was doing is testing your previous build, right? And when tester completes testing your previous build in a different repository, it moves this thing on into staging environment. Now staging environment is kind of replica of your production environment, and you check with the parameters which is, which occurs in your production environment. Right? Suppose you have 10,000 people visiting your website every day. Then in stage you will try to emulate 10,000 visitors and you try to see your system doesn't break. Right? Suppose when a developer develops something, they work with a minimal data. Right? The data is not that big as a stage environment or production environment. You can say production environment. So there are chances that some of the scenarios are just left out, right? Because the data itself is not there. How you build something on that. Testers has little bigger data set, but they also don't have something mirror of a production. But stage environment is almost, and depends on company. Somebody keeps 6 months old data, somebody 3 months old data, somebody keeps 1 month old data, depending upon their intensity of, or their dependency on the recent data. They have a policy of keeping that kind of data in stage, and there is a masking process, right? If the data is very sensitive, then you don't expose the same data into stage environment. You first mask it. Masking means you change the data with something so that it is not identified as the same data what you have imported. Customer names will be changed, customer details will be changed. Okay, so few of the credentials or things will be changed which is present in a production environment. So once we have completed that, okay, then we go into production. So there is a complete process, and it is an automated process. How it works is, when you do as I told, right, in your development also, there is various changes. For example, Satrasi is working on some module, right? Srivastava is working on some other module. Now, and there is a development branch, main branch for development. Now he will not start working on main branch of development. Why? Because there might be a chance that you change something which should not be changed. So first what you will do is, you will clone the copy of, you will take a copy of the main branch and you start your development and frequently merge yourself with the latest content of, you don't do ulta. So once you are ready, if you put your content there, you will find 100 changes. Instead of that, what you do, you keep taking you don't push your data, but you keep taking data from master so that you are updated. And same thing, Srivastava is also doing. So once you are there, he is ready with, and these are temporary branches. Right? When Srivastava is ready with his change, Satrasi is ready with his change. What they will do is they will merge with the master. Now chances of getting conflict is very minimal, because they keep taking, and probably before merging also they would have taken a copy. But when they merge, it won't get merged. Okay? It will just create a merge request. Okay? So these are little high level, but because we have some time, so we can discuss all those things. And most of the things we don't follow apart from Nova. And Nova, you have this, right? Nova, you need to take care of merge request and all. Okay, these are we used to do that.
Yeah.
When we generate a pull request, then only it will get a part of your main branch. Otherwise, it will not be a part of your main branch. So that your main development branch is also secured, and the developer who is working. Otherwise, what happens currently? What we are doing, right? Everybody is working on the same branch. One person does something horrible and push the code, gone. We can again take our old version, but it is a pain. Why you want to go through that? When you already have features like this, we follow a standard process to take care of this. Is this clear?
What
So-
you told that marks the data. So how is there anything, any tool or how we
Yeah,
can?
there are certain tools based on which database we are working with. And sometimes most of the system admins will be ready with their pre-developed codes. Because see, what we are talking about specific products, right? The product owner knows what is important, what is not. So what will happen is, they already, like in our case, they were having the SQL codes to do it. There are tools also, but it is costly. So some company prefers that, some company doesn't. And some company don't care about it. So if it's suppose if it's your own product, you don't care too much because data is within your company, right? But suppose for your development you have hired some other company, you would not like to share your customers' data or your company's data with them. Then you mask it 100%.
And for marks, we need to run the query, or is there any other tool or management?
See, at the end of the day, it is query. If you run a tool, you do the settings, they will understand the structure, depending upon which and all columns you are planning to mask, and what kind of data it is. For example, address field. They have, dummy address generators. So they will replace addresses with their dummy address. If it is phone number, mask. They will mask 10 digit out of that, 7 digit they will mask. Okay, so their code is also ready. If you are using a tool, it is ready. Otherwise, when you are writing a query, you have to do that. You will also get the, queries. If you Google it, you will get it. So depending on what kind of data it is. Suppose sometimes what happens, they don't want to show their actual numbers. So generating a number by taking your number as a reference. So they'll change it, but not by huge margin. It's like you have 10 crores, they'll not make it 1. Right? They'll say it is 8 crore 433. So they'll work with the range. Right? And depends sometimes what you want to test in stage is also very important. Right? You want to check the performance, then criteria is different. When you want to check accuracy, you cannot play with the numbers. Right? In our case, right, in this we wanted to compare the numbers as close as what it is in production. So that data cannot be played with. So play with the customer details. So that we don't know for which customer we are working on. Right? Because we have all the numbers.
Based on requirement, we have to do that.
Yes. This is not a hard and fast. That's why I told. Well, the tools also right. They'll read the table. Like suppose you want to mask the data of this particular table. They'll read what and all data types are there and what you want to do. And you have to select this is string type, but it will not specify whether it is address or some details, and whether you want to mask it or not. So it's not like in the database if you mask everything, then you don't have any data on it. Right? So depending upon which and all table is very important. In our project it used to call PII. Right? So this is personal data. So personal data should be matched, whereas some public data are which will not cause any harm if we get to know also. So it depends, right? And what is our use case also. Still we have just taking more time. Do we have anything else?
That's again about data and repository.
Git and
Repository, what is the version control? What is repository?
see, repository is nothing but where, it is very basic in this movie, where you keep something.
No, will it be common for everyone or software?
Again, that depends on implementation. What we do is it's like common for all developers. We don't have any further segregations. Whereas in standard, like how we are implementing it, if my project is very critical, we will not do that. I'll tell you, are working on something, you create a separate micro branch. So there is a concept of branching basically. Like as
So
you
let me one small example. We have SharePoint in Microsoft. So SharePoint, where you can make it as public or make it as private also. Private, it will be particular to that particular team or person. Or public, it will be open to the organization. Something similar to that is called a
a repository is anything. It's not specific to only Git. Repository can be anything where you keep something important, right? Which has collection of meaningful data or information is repository. But in this case, in the case of Git, what we do is we keep our code and we manage our code. So Git is not only a repository, it also is a version control. So suppose if I pushed some code yesterday and I push something today, we'll have both the copies. So we can go back, and if suppose by mistake I did something which I don't need in the future, I'll revert it back. Okay. So
Maximum level of versions that can be achieved.
it's up to us. Like we can go back till the beginning also.
0 point. From scratch to whatever the
Definitely.
endpoint you have.
It depends on space requirement, how much space we have purchased also. But usually, you'll have everything. Okay, so finally we have application ready. Now, Nagesh, you were asking, right? How we modify? So if you click on modify, it will again ask you to add more features to your Visual Studio installation. But we don't want to do that. We'll just go to launch. So we are on the way to create our first .NET application. It won't be Visual Studio application. Why? Because Visual Studio is just an IDE. It's not the tool. Where .NET is a tool using which we will be creating and writing. Okay. So .NET will be the framework and coding language will be C#. Okay. So next class onwards we will start the basics of C#.
Any other application other than Visual Studio which we can use?
You can use a lot of other, you can actually type in Notepad and you can compile it. Right? But again, as I told already, when you have everything available, why you want to, and you have to develop on this one way. Visual Studio Code is one where you can do that. So certain configuration, I will just leave it to default and start. Except you are not available from Monday.
No, I am not available.
So tomorrow will be last class.
Then I will watch the videos.
We will not upload. Okay. So it's, so you see this first of all, right? Told from a repository. So if you have a Git repository or any other, currently there is hardly any repository which is not based on Git. Right? Previously it used to happen that we had Microsoft's TFS, Team Foundation Server. That was one repository. Then we had Git. Then we had Subversion. And then we had few more. Now mostly all the repositories are somewhat, some way or the other based on Git only, right? Now we don't want to use this for current scenario. We'll just and second option is create a new project. Third option is if you already have a project, open it. Okay. Sorry, this one is open. This is if you have a folder, right? But we'll go for creating a new project. And which kind of project we'll create? And see, this is like project can have multiple, solutions can have multiple projects. So when you are creating a project, you will also create a solution. So where in that you can have multiple projects. We will show that also. Suppose if you want to do multiple, examples or multiple projects you want to create, you can create in the same. You don't have to create new solution every time. How you can add that also we'll discuss here. Now, first one itself is showing console app. We'll select that. What is the coding language? C Sharp. Create next. Give. I'll say test one. Okay, location as of now, if you want to keep it as it is, or generally if you want to keep all the solutions somewhere, like generally how I organize this is in my C drive, because mostly nowadays you'll have only one drive. You'll create projects. Select the project folder and then that's it. Okay, solution name, this will be.
What is that one? Place solution and project in the same directory.
Basically, if you create this, right, then there will be a solution name test1, or say you can say create test. Now you will see how this whole structure becomes. Yeah, I want to base it on .NET 6. Meanwhile, when it is getting created, I will show you. We'll go to our C drive, projects. Can you see test, not test one?
Yeah.
Right? But inside that, you will get a test one.
Test one.
Usually, people don't change it, so you will say test and test. But now we have a folder test. So suppose tomorrow you are creating another project called test 2. So if you create open test, all the projects will be there only. And there will be a solution file. Like once you save these things, right, you will get a solution file outside this here. When you open that, all your projects included in that solution will be.
How .NET make their versions, like major release, minor release, is this kind of things is there?
It is there. Like again, like 6.0 is there, right? Then all the minor version will be 6.1, 6.2. If there is any bug fixes or patching, will be in the second this thing.
So what will you prefer? Which is the latest?
Stable versions, LTS, long-term support. Always go for long-term support.
Any bug fixes come in 6.1 then?
No, see, 6.1 is fine. Like when .NET 7 will come, right, it will not be LTS.
Yeah.
What happens is, like usual, what is the development pattern? I will tell you. Any projects when it gets developed, or not projects, any product, like framework is a product. All my new ideas will go into a less stable version. For example, 6 is done, 6 is suppose is a long-term support. 7 mostly will not be a long-term support. All the new ideas will be put on 7. It will be tested on you as a guinea pigs. You test it, you work, and then you report problems. They'll fix it. 8 they'll release as a long-term support.
Okay.
So that version will go on for at least 10 years, something like that. So they'll be supported for long period, whereas 7 will never be supported for a long period. As soon as 8 comes, they'll ask you to upgrade to 8
Okay.
because 8 is a LTS. And all the features we have worked on 7, it was just for testifying and okay, this is open, but in the other screen I just okay. So we are here. So in this console app, few things you can see. This mode is on. Okay. See, I'll show you few more things like what we did it from the starting screen. We can do it from here also. We can create a project, we can close it from repository, we can open a normal file also. Again, we can, this is open existing projects and all those things. Okay, file, project, website. Now you have clone repository. I cannot read out properly from here. If you get so again, loading the repository, cloning is the same thing. So you can clone it from. So if you have URL or if you can log in and get the repository, you can do that. Okay. This is the same window what you saw. Then again, add project. Add project is in the existing solution. Whereas this one will not do that. It will add a new solution. Whereas this will add into the existing solution. And then close and close solution. When you close the solution, the entire solution will get closed. Okay, save all and all those things, all the common objects. Let's jump back here. Okay, now view and all we'll see once we have a, because these things are more useful when you have a UI based things, right? You will see the tools in your left hand side. See, now this is divided into mainly 2 or 3 parts. Top part is your tool help. So the IDE, all the features of IDE can be used from here. Whereas in the main section is divided into 2 parts. One is for writing the code. Basically it gets divided into 3 parts. Left hand side you will see, like if you connect to database, you will see that in the left hand side. Okay. If you have any tools like drag and drop options, you will see in the left hand side. Whereas right hand side gives you your solution, your projects, your project files, everything will be in the left hand side. This is one part. It is called Solution Explorer. Okay, so
solution.
see, it is like collection of projects. You can see that.
You can
Suppose
create multiple projects under one solution.
usually what you see in, suppose what we are working on currently, Max Survey. Max Survey is one solution. We have multiple projects in that. So many class libraries are there, right? We have multiple folders or multiple projects into one. So it's entirely, it is not considered as a different project. It is only one project. So one project might consist of multiple sub-projects, right? So that is called solution, complete solution, what we are going to offer to your customer, right? And you need multiple components within that, and you want to keep everything together. So solution does it for you. That's why it is called Solution Explorer. You will get like, and when you are connected to Git, you will get all Git related shit. I think so most of you have already worked on that, right? The second tab also. Only Nagesh and Sayyed will find these things new. So we'll work on Git also. Like when we are doing sample programs. Once basically we don't know anything about coding as of now. That's why we are not going into that. But when we start working on that, you should have your own Git. So for the next class, what I would recommend is create your own Git account when you are coming for the class tomorrow. Okay? So that when we tell these things are there, and I'll not share any code, whatever we do it here, either find it in the video, and there will be a basic tasks assigned to them. And today whatever example I am showing, it is just to see. You don't have to go and practice. Because until you learn a bit of coding, you learn about the coding language, because we have not discussed a single bit on C# yet, right? So these things what you see is just to understand how IDE works, right? So see, there is a line of code written, 2 lines of code written here, right? First one you can see it starts with double slash. Now again, when we are going through the coding, we will get to know this is basically comment. And most of you already know that because you are working, you are in front end, but you see this code very often. There are different kind of commenting. Again, when we are discussing C#, comments will come as a part of this. So we'll discuss this separately. So you have only one line of code. This console dot write line hello comma hello. Basically, you see this double quotes, right? This indicates a string. So this is your opening of a string, this is a termination of string. So in between whatever is there is a string. Clear? And suppose you might argue, sir, if what happens if we have double quotes in the string itself? If you put double quotes, it will terminate the string. You can see this. But what you can do is there is something called escape sequence. Again, we will discuss all those things once we are discussing about coding. Now, when you put double quotes, right? Now, this is a escape sequence. Will tell what exactly this means and all. But as of now, what it should do? Console.write, right? By name, it's a, there will be a console and we are writing something. Write line is also called console.write. I'll just extend this program.
It is too slow.
C is missing.
Just to okay, I did see there. Okay. Now okay, so we have same thing written. You can say 4 times. Let's run and see. And you tell me what should be the output. Anybody can tell me what should be the output of this.
Hello world, then hello world,
Hello.
then next line hello world, then next line hello world, hello world.
No sir, hello and double quote and word.
And that is fine.
For first two there is a next line, and for
Same
the
line,
last
sir.
two there is no line.
But exactly. So first two you see hello, double quotes line, word, and then again there will be hello world in the next line. Third line you will have hello world together. Because this is console.write, we are not inserting a new line. It's very slow. Okay. Output is here. Can you see it now?
Yes.
Hello world, and in third line, both are next to each other. So that is the difference between console and console.write. Console.write and console.write. Okay. So again, because you don't know anything about coding, so we will not discuss what exactly this thing does, in details. Now we were discussing about few things that we'll continue here. For example, say in A Now you see two errors, two red lines, right?
Yes.
What it says?
It is data type is
What exactly it says? We are trying to put integer into.
string.
Similarly, in B and C, what it says?
By trying to add string and
Because we are trying to add two different kind of data types. So these are compile time errors, right? Our target was to add A and
B.
B. And if we do anything wrong in grammar, it will be identified directly. Now you can see there is no error. But can you see that C is little less blue? What exactly compiler is trying to tell me is that okay, we have calculated everything in C, but you are not using C, and there is no point. So compiler is saying there is no point. You have done some operation, like A and B you don't see that because A and B we have created, and if you see similar kind of thing will show for A and B also if it is not used. Because there is no logic of creating something and not using it, right? So now you are already aware of console dot right line. It is suggesting me that C. This suggestion when you are trying to type something, the suggestion is called IntelliSense. This is again a feature of your IDE which tries to tell you what you might do. Now it is suggesting me that you can also print A and B also. But now I will not read. Okay. Now what exactly this does is it tries to read an input from it.
It hold a screen.
Exactly. Anyway, .NET will hold until unless you press a key, it will not go away.
Okay.
But we want to manually hold it. Now you can see a number here.
Yeah, it's 4.
Okay. Is this correct?
Yeah.
No.
So C here.
Yes. So we are displaying C, it should be 4. Now, if I change the number here, now what I'll tell you what logical error is. Now we are expecting addition of two numbers, but I am logically very bad. I wrote, and this is very basic, but if you go advanced, this kind of error everybody does, not making plus into minus. This is very basic. So now your compiler will not give any error. But you will still not get the exact expected result. Now you can see 1, but we are expecting 5. This kind of error is called runtime error and logical error. So one is syntax error, second one is logical error. Okay? And runtime there is called exception. Exception is different. Okay? Errors, but there are only two types of errors. One is compile time errors, that will be basically syntax errors. Whereas runtime or logical error is based on you have done some logical mistake. And that is more difficult to find out. And that's why debugging comes in picture. Now, I don't have any idea still. I told you I'm very miserable in coding. At the same time, I don't have any idea on how to find out the mistake. So what I'll do is, I'll press F9. You see a red box now, right? You can also do this by double clicking here.
What is the shortcut?
F9. Okay. Here, see, double click outside boundary, you can see this. It will add. Run the code as it is. but I will not see the result now.
Because
Right?
we are developing.
Now my code has come and stopped here. Okay, and you can also see what A is holding as a, what is A is holding? What we have put in. Why it is showing 0?
It's not executed.
Exactly. See, it will show some garbage value. Right?
Yeah, when you debug here, you will see.
Okay, so I will press F10. You can see here. What is this? Somebody can read for me.
Show next step.
Next statement.
Okay, what is this?
Step into.
What is the code?
F11.
F11. And this is step over. F10. Right? We don't have any method anywhere. So we'll press
F10.
F10. Now see what is the value of A?
3.
Because this is initialized. Right? But what is the value of B?
0.
Why it is 0?
Not yet.
Before this, B was not even there. Before this line, because of this line, so memory for B will get allocated, and you can see the type also of the data. Right? Now again I'll press F10. Okay. Now C is 0.
0.
Now if I am the one, and then I press F. Now what do you see?
1.
Now my A and B is correct if I am putting a logic. But my C should be 5. Then I expect there's some problem in this line. And I will, okay, by mistake, instead of adding I am subtracting, that's why my result is wrong. You can do live editing also. Now my cursor is here. I want to see again.
You can take
You
it
can
back.
drag back also.
Yeah.
Now it is here. Again I will press F10. My expected results are as it is. C is 1. Now you will ask, sir, it should be 0. It is not initialized 1. So previous operation result was 1. That's why it is showing 1. It has not been changed. But now if I press 1, it will become 5.
5.
And by color also you can see the output of the, it is like, what last happened. Last happened was C got modified. Right? Now F10. Right? Can you see 5 now?
Yes.
And now F10. So now you can see it's waiting for any input. If I give, done. Program got terminated. You can see here, program got terminated. Your console will go also terminated like once you. So this is your basic debugging. Now suppose I got to know where. Now I know initializing will not give a problem. My problem can only be here. Right?
If it is not initialized, it should show as undefined. So why it is showing 0?
See, it will take a value. Right? If it is integer, what value you are expecting? You are getting it. And this one, you will have it here. It is not like that. You will give a like compile time error again. And now you can say A equal to 3.
3. B equal to 2.
There's a
Colon. Remove.
now if we use var a var b,
You can use equal to A equal to B equal to like that.
instead of using
because it's not initialized, it will not even bother allocating memory for that. Now, you see, what is D? 0, it will be 0 anyways. So, you got to know, it will not bother initializing. What happened from first it got to third. This
Yeah.
From line 3 directly got to line 6.
Hmm.
Why? Because in .NET, if you don't initialize anything, it means it doesn't exist till you initialize it. So it will just take the definition from above, that what A was, but it will only initialize memory when,
Something is assigned.
yes,
So if we declare a variable, but we are not initiated anywhere,
yes,
will it take the memory?
no, that's what I was showing. Did it go to that line? No. When there is a requirement of initializing memory, then it will refer back, see what kind of data definition is there. So now when you are saying A equal to 3, now A will be initialized to 3. You can see with the orange color.
Yeah.
Right? Now B is white,
Now it is 2.
2. And then now C will get initialized.
5.
Okay?
Yeah.
Now I'll also show you this.
C is not declared.
Okay. Now, sir, I have a breakpoint here, for example. Now, what will happen? If I press F10, you see what is F10? F10 is for?
Step over.
Step over means? Huh?
It
You
will not
will
go to
skip
that
the
function.
code which is present inside the method. Now instead of writing the code, we are directly calling. If I press F10, it will go directly to next line. So it will give the result. So it will execute the code inside the function, but it will not go inside the function. Now let's do it back again. Okay. Now I will press F11. Now what did happen? Okay. Now, and you see this A and B, again we will talk about this. This will carry, A will carry 3, B will carry 2, and and what we are doing is we are writing again, we are not storing it somewhere, we are just adding both and returning. Return statement will execute this particular expression and return the value to the calling place. And now this will assign the value, returning value into, because we are collecting that value here. Now again, all those things, if you don't understand, no, don't worry, because we will discuss all those things in very much detail. This is very, and just to explain what is step over and step into, we are doing this. It has nothing to do with our practical scenarios, that will have it separately. Okay? And now you can see the output is 5 and rest of the code remains so. I'll just press F5, it will execute everything. Okay? And your result is, okay, it has come. You can see the result is 5. Okay? Any confusion?
Can you explain read key, what exactly is it?
It is waiting for any key input from my end. For example, okay, let's make it a little more spicy. You forget about read key. Now you understand. You will tell sir what is this. You are just, is assigning a value. This is not working like a normal addition. Because 3 plus 2, you only can do it. What is the use of, writing such a big code? You will only tell 5 before I write the code. So I'll make it something like this. Okay. Console dot read line. Okay.
Converts.
I know you know. There are other people also, right? Now, what do you see? You see it is giving some error. Now we'll try to understand what is the error, what it does. Right? Console, whatever you write, whether you write integer or anything, it will consider this thing as a string. So we'll try to parse it. So most of the people have already worked on this kind of scenarios. So okay, why again we are getting this thing? Because sometimes we can get non-integer values which will not be able to. Now I am removing the breakpoint as of now, just to make the process little faster. Okay. Now I don't see anything. Blindly I'll type 4, enter 5. Now enter. What should be the output?
9.
Is it 9?
Yes.
But don't you think this is, not a good way of doing coding? We don't know. Even though we are adding, so we'll say console. Right. Okay.
This is similar to our prompt.
little more elaborate. This is here. Okay, what is this? What should be the output?
2, 4, 7, 6.
Is it correct? Now you see, it also says sum of number 1 and number 2 is this much. So this is how you can do coding, right? Again, this is very elementary level. But now you know you can make it more interactive. Your inputs, your output. Okay, and again, as of now, I have not given you any idea of how to code. This is only introduction of your IDE. Keep it to that. Okay, do not get into coding now. Explore and see. IDE is a very used thing. Like, there are a lot of options. There might be 10-15 options I also might not be knowing or hearing for first time because we don't use all the options. So try to explore. Try to understand the basic, like how to run, how to debug. Like it is currently debug mode. If you put in release mode, it will not hit the big point. For example, right now if I run, it will come here, the cursor will come here. The moment it, okay, I have to enter the input, the number. Right? Now, just think, I have put into release mode. Disable.
Second option.
No, see this, you can see it here now. Why? This thing was showing that it cannot hit the break point. Okay? That's where it is running now. Now here. I put my input because so basically in release mode, it will not hit the break point. It will only hit in the debug mode. And debug mode is little bit slower than your release because it will add additional parameters to read out the value of each and every variable. Okay, from the backend. So we will not get to know, but to enable debug, okay, we need additional resources. So when you run some program in debug mode, it takes more than usual memory and other extra resources to enable you to debug the code. Whereas in release mode, it only allocates memory which is needed to run the application. So that is little faster than what you see in the debug mode. Okay. So any confusion?
This debug is so
Okay.
release to debug mode. You want to change.
You want to put me a
Line number 8. So here two panels are showing, right? One is first one. What is
because there is one input after that it could be late.
okay?
It is waiting for the input one.
Okay. So here, what is the first portion?
What is the
This
first?
one is call step, and what is the first one that is showing the memory related things? Here, This is the call stack, right?
Uh.
What is this one? It is showing the memory.
This is memory, variables, and what is the current state and value of it.
Okay, so we can any option like pointer, we can see the memory reference, or we can do some operation with the memory
You can
location.
do it if you have, enterprise edition. Not like, because see, in any higher level language, we try to hide pointers, so it will not show you pointers. But yeah, memory, these things, it will show you. Again, not memory location, but memory. So the stack also is showing in a way that only. What you are seeing, all those things are maintained in stack only.
Okay.
Right? That's why you see the stack.
So I'm asking that any call by value, call by reference, any that kind of concept is there?
It is there, but it is very much embedded. Like that's what you are asking the question too early. When we start the coding part, right, you'll only get to know what we don't provide in C#. Like if you have read C and when you read C#, it's way different. Right? It is built on C only, but the way it is built, see, when you use pointers, right, you unlock a lot of possibilities. At the same time, you invite a lot of problems. Like, see, when we are dealing with pointers, we are directly dealing with
Memory.
memory. Right? When you are directly dealing with memory, chances of, right, doing bad things with memory, with the program, is more. Especially when you know the location. And when you know the location, you can jump the location. There is a command in C, if you know, jump.
Jump.
It's called go to. Go to statement, you know. First line when you read about go to, first thing in the same statement what you read is do not use it until unless it's very much needed. Because that statement can directly take you to any memory location if you know to access. And when you can go to any memory location, you can do a lot of things. You can delete data which is not under your program also. So that's why dealing with pointer is a two-way story. It gives you a lot of possibilities, but at the same time, it is a very responsible thing. That's why C# abstract, developers from using pointers. There are ways to use pointers, but in a different way. You'll get to know, like once we start programming, you'll get to know how to use referencing. Like, let's call it referencing, how to reference data. That also is there. But mostly it is already removed. You don't need pointer kind of thing until you are working on something very complex. So referencing is used in our project also, it is used. Probably in your project also it might be used. But mostly we try to avoid because we have so many other ways to use and access the reference parameter. Okay. Anything else?
And discuss regarding this call stack. There is only one program, right? Inside the call stack, there is only one line.
No, because you are not using it fully, right? Call stack will be used when you are usually accessing methods, when you are accessing, that kind of thing. Like when we are in method, then only everything will push in stack and then go to. So all those concepts, all those things we can discuss in details when we are actually discussing methods, right? And stack, trace, and how all those things work. It's too early and probably most of the people will not understand those. So let's keep it for a different session. Anything else? Any questions? Regarding exclusively for IDE, don't go into programming yet. As of now, if you want to know stack, you can see that section will show you stack. Right? Any further details, once we get into programming, we'll explain so that everybody can understand.
What is this? This options, breakpoints already know that it's.
So this is status, like various status. Like when you are building. See. Yes. ready. Now, suppose we want to build the solution. Okay, this will show you status and this will show you once the code is ready. Currently it is not, the system is very slow. Otherwise it will show what is the status going on, like build is going on, it will show build. Once build is done, it will show you ready. When you are publishing, it will show you, those status.
And run this program again.
Again you are getting into program.
No, I'm asking about this one.
This is your performance. What and all resources are getting used. When you run this program, you will get to know which resource is getting used how much by this program.
Process memory means RAM.
Memory means how much RAM this process is using. How much CPU this process is using, like that.
What is this events?
Events. See, this is changed to 1.
Yeah.
Now, again you ask me what is event.
Oh,
I'll
yes.
tell you,
Yesterday we
wait for
discussed.
some time.
Huh?
Right? We'll discuss events, we'll discuss other things.
Yesterday Nagesh called up.
You have to give some time. You want to learn everything in one day, that is impossible.
Same
And you are running ahead of time. You don't know what CSRP is and you are asking me what is event.
No, here it is showing now.
Correct? As of now, you understand that is the placeholder where events will be shown. Now, what is the event? We will discuss it later. Okay, with this we will conclude today's class. Hope you guys have got familiar. Right? I will not tell you understand what IDE is. You would have got familiar with what IDE does. Rest all, and let's try to keep the class maximum 4 hours.
Yes.
Because everybody is involved in some project, it will be difficult to bring everyone to the class if it goes on to more than 1 hour. 1 hour also is today I thought we'll do it for 30 to 40 minutes. Unfortunately, it went way longer than what we have anticipated. But from next class onwards, we'll try to stick to our